Season 4, Episode 6, Into the Fire. That ending was so pleasant. I don't even really know what to do with it. It was like, they left, all the first ones are gone, the war is over. Yay! And I was, what do I do? How do I react? How do I react to something good? I mean, what are they supposed to do now? I'm with Londo. I have trouble wrapping my head around it. But, I mean, this whole war with the shadows and everything has been building since the beginning, basically. There were other plot threads that haven't really gotten resolved, but I don't know. Well, I guess we can go back to freaking out about, well, paying attention to what's going on Earth. I haven't really mentioned that in ages. And dealing with those problems. Which is appropriate, I guess. It just feels weird, but I have to keep reminding myself, okay, the show hasn't always been about this. It's just that I've watched it in such a stretched out manner that it feels like it has, you know. And it must have been even weirder for people actually watching the show as it aired. But yeah, it's like, Season 4, war's over. I mean, actually, I was kind of vaguely expecting that the war might end at the end of Season 3, because it sort of began at the beginning of Season 3. I don't know, it just seemed appropriate for some reason. And then when it didn't, I thought, okay, it'll end at the end of Season 4, but nope. What do we do now? Like, I have no idea. I have no predictions, except that, I don't know. Okay, I have to confess, I managed to spoil myself for a couple of things that haven't happened yet. Because TV tropes. Which I really shouldn't poke around on. I didn't even look up Babylon 5, okay? This stuff just happens. And so I know one character is going to die, and I know who it is. And I know that, well, I know that Psy-Core is going to, well, that they're up to something. And that it involves Garibaldi. I don't know any of the details. But it does confirm, possibly confirm, my suspicions that it was Psy-Core who grabbed him. And, you know, so we'll see where that's going. Well, I mean, actually, this is interesting because I know it's been a while since I made comparisons between this show and DS9, because I finally stopped doing that, you know. But one interesting thing is that they're getting an opportunity here that DS9 didn't have, which is to explore what happens after. Because on DS9 it was like, the war. I mean, the war didn't officially start until like Season 5 or something, but they kind of had this, I kind of actually have a problem with the way they dealt with it, because the war ends at the end of Season 7 and that's it. And if there'd been a Season 8, they could have wrapped up the Bajor plot better. Which they never really did. Like, Bajor doesn't become part of the Federation, which I felt like was a natural ending to the show. So it was just sort of weird. But anyway, here, they get to do other stuff, I guess. Alright, let's talk about this actual episode. I was a little bit hazy on what was actually going on during some of it, like, the part, basically the big climactic part where Sheridan and Delenn are both communicating with the Shadows and the Vorlons. I wasn't quite sure who was talking to who, or why they were seeing what they were seeing, because Delenn, whoever Delenn was talking to the mouths of a number of actual characters, including Franklin, which was funny, because I was like, oh hi, trying to be in this episode, what's up? Because it's the only scene he's in, I think. While Sheridan is talking to somebody who's to a woman who is trapped in an ice cube, or possibly a plastic ice cube, and she's a veil over her face. I thought she might be Centauri, but it is mostly just because I thought she didn't have any hair. But I don't really know. I guess it doesn't really matter. But no, but then, and then they basically come out with, like, well, why should we choose sides in this war, and we're tired of you using us to fight each other, like bad parents who are feuding. And then I actually kind of, right at the end there, when the Vorlons and the Shadows agree to leave, and they're asking Lorien if he's going to come, just, there's sort of this little feeling of them being like, I don't know, it just made me a little bit sad. Not that he's leaving, exactly, although I like him, but I thought it was sweet in a way, that they felt like they needed him. Sort of, I don't know how to put it exactly, but they seemed suddenly much less powerful in his presence. They seemed like children to him, I guess, which is, I suppose, the way it was supposed to be. And now they're entering the Third Age. Like, hi, this isn't Lord of the Rings. But, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, because if I did, that'd be weird. But, yeah. Oh, and then there was the plot on Centauri. I guess I should mention that a little bit. So, London tries to get Morden to get the shadow ships to leave, but Morden refuses, and then Londo just blows up the island that the ships were on, and then has Morden killed. Which leads to a wonderful scene where Veer goes out in the garden, Londo's filmed too, and sees that Morden's head is on a pike, and he recalls that was his answer to Morden's "what do you want" question. I want to live just long enough to see your head on a pike, and I can wave in it like this. And then he does. Veer seems much recovered from last episode. And he hugs Londo, which made me really happy, because I was like, I don't know, it just seemed like a thing. So, well. Also, Veer's going back to B5, which fulfills some of my wish from last episode. And hopefully Londo will make it there as well, but honestly, I'm kind of on his side as far as the gods apparently hate him, because this episode may have ended on a happy note, but, well, I refuse to believe that it's going to stay that way for very long. And, yeah, so. I'm drawing this out way too long. I'm going to shut up. Next episode. Alright, today's episode was episode 7 of season 4, Epiphanies. Alright, well, it looks like we're getting right into the next plot, which is going to be, like, I guess I predicted, which isn't really impressive at all, actually. All about Psychor and Earth and President Clark being a dick. And, yeah. So in this one, Bester shows up. Yay, Bester! And he's up to something. Well, mostly what he wanted in this episode was to get to Zah-Doom and get some information about their technology so that he can help his girlfriend person, who is still in cryo-freeze on B5. But we also learn in an early scene that Psychor and a couple of other organizations are all supposed to be working together, but not with the knowledge of what each is doing, to bring down B5. So, that's no good. But the thing with him is mostly what he does in this episode seems to be motivated by his own desire to get Carolyn back, but also to get revenge on B5 for existing or something. Like, he says, that he'll get them back for the things they've done to him, but, like, what have they ever done to you, dude? You're always just showing up and being a dick and messing up their stuff. Anyway, yeah, but what's his long game? Garibaldi. Garibaldi is his long game. That is what I'm saying. The show hasn't told me yet, but that is what I'm saying. Garibaldi got a strange message, which was just a bunch of like wiggly lines and colors, and immediately after it was over, he deleted it. And then he quit his job. Now see, what's interesting here is I think whatever it is that's sort of mentally influencing him, it's making him act in an odd manner, but he's still himself. It's just that it made him, maybe pushed him over the edge into making this decision to quit. Because he says what he wants to do is start a business and maybe be a detective, basically. Look for lost things and lost people. Which seems plausible for Garibaldi if he were ever to lose it and quit. But, you know, he wouldn't. So what's going on? So that's got some sort of, gonna have some sort of consequences in the future. I don't know, maybe they'll send him more creepy messages and he'll do odd things. I mean, because he's perfectly placed to mess everything up. Except, here's the thing, less perfectly placed if he's not actually the chief of security anymore. I mean, wouldn't you rather your mind-controlled mole be the chief of security versus just some guy who used to be the chief of security? I don't know. What else? Well, Londo and Jakar have both returned to B5. I assume Veer is there, but we didn't see him at all this episode. Jakar has a scene with Garibaldi, which I quite loved. It was interesting because basically he comes in, and apparently Jakar is incapable of, like, looking happy to see Garibaldi until he makes it quite clear that he is happy to see him by hugging him and lifting him up in the air. But, like, he looked quite menacing coming in originally, so I don't exactly blame Garibaldi for thinking that he was angry at him because, you know, he went out to save him, and that's why he got captured by the Centauri and got his eye pulled out. But as Jakar puts it, if that hadn't happened, then he wouldn't have been in... Because that happened, he was in the perfect position to make that deal with Londo, and now Narn is free. And Garibaldi's like, okay, that's a weird way of looking at it, but I like it. So they're sweet. I really like their friendship. It's weird because at the beginning of the show there was no way, right? But and Londo seems quite happy to be back on B5. But Jakar is, well, he and Jakar have a little tiny scene. Basically, I guess it was basically like, okay, you did your thing, now let us hope we never, you know, avoid each other forever, and I don't know. Okay, what did I think of it? I think it's a solid start to a new story. It brings in, of course, also the idea that the Shadows have allies, and so we're not exactly done fighting. As we see especially when that really annoying guy who's been made regent of Centauri discovers he's got some sort of creepy as fuck alien living on his shoulder. God, that guy's annoying. Even when there's nobody for him to be annoying at, he's annoying by himself in his room in the middle of the night. He's annoying. He's so annoying. Okay. And I know I bitched about Veer being annoying at the beginning of the show, but no, seriously, this guy is so annoying. Yeah, but I don't have that much to say about this one beyond that. So, it sets up stuff, and I'm intrigued by Bester and the possibilities. Woo! Oh, and further, one more thing, that Lita is apparently quite a lot more powerful in her telepathy than we thought, because she's a P5, but she was able to do some pretty crazy things in this episode, so they're kind of like, and Bester has blackmail information about her. He knows stuff about her that he knows she wouldn't want anyone to know, and we don't know it, but maybe we'll find out. So, Yay! I can never end these, so I'm going to end this by saying, the end! Okay, today's episode is episode 8 of season 4. I'm going to write the title. The Illusion of Truth. Yee. Okay, so, this is like one of my favorite things about the show. Insofar as anything about the show can actually be more strongly connected to the real world. And that's the whole thing about the news being used against the people. I just think it's really interesting because it just shows how important it is to have freedom of speech and, you know, to have a news network that isn't controlled by your crazy government. Because, okay, so this fucking guy was like, I'm a reporter, but I'm totally on your side. And they were like, alright, let's believe him, because maybe. But then he totally wasn't, and you watched the little documentary at the end about everything that's been going on in Babylon 5, and it was all completely, like, not true. Although he is right, they are lying about the cryo chambers. Good job, dude, you figured out one thing. But, like, seriously, it was awful. Ugh. But that was, like, the last third of the episode. There were 2/3 before that. Like, he was doing some interviews, and there was some humorous stuff. Like Londo bitching about the temperature in his quarters, and the little floaty camera thing kept headbutting Linear for some reason. And we learned some other news stuff about the planet. No, sorry, about Mars has mostly been taken back by Earth. Or the control of Mars has mostly been taken back by Earth, which is too bad because I like Mars and I want them to be their own place away from the insanity. Yeah. But yeah, it just focuses on this, and you're just kind of like, It's just not making me happy. It's just not happy. B5 can't get a break. And now everybody's gonna think that they're trying to, like, turn people into aliens, and that Sheridan's crazy and controlled by aliens. I mean, it doesn't help that he's dating one. Which, hey, I did question whether that was going to become a problem, and indeed it has. So, I guess it isn't something that happens ever. Or at least not very often. Which is cool. Yeah, like, I apparently don't have much to say about this. Oops. Oh, shit, of course. Garibaldi, the part that he played in this. Now, what's interesting is that while I think he's still being... I can't really guess how much of what he does and says is being controlled by an outside party, or is just him. Because what he tells the guy in the interview, or at least the part of it that gets shown, we don't actually see the interview on screen before, like, you know, ourselves. We don't see the real version, we just see the clip in the documentary. Which suggests to me that... I don't know what it suggests. They could have doctored that too, or maybe this is really what Garibaldi said. Because he doesn't say anything super crazy, but... well, maybe he does. Sorry, I've watched this episode over the course of a day, so, like... it was some hours ago when I watched that part. Anyway. But yeah. But it's not like this is coming completely out of left field, at least not for this season, because he had issues with Lorianne and with the way Sheridan was acting earlier. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a continuation of that, but is this, I just start wondering how much of this is possibly Bester's plan. We don't know. And he wants to take out B5, so... Well, anyway. So I'm worried about Garibaldi. He actually has a little flashback of something that we haven't seen before. Because he's had flashbacks of the scene where he's walking around the room with the low ceiling. But in this case, he's actually sitting in a chair. And there's a bright light being shown on him. And somebody is telling him that he will obey only them, I think it was. Something like that. Or that he only works for them. So, scary. Poor Garibaldi. So, anyway. Everyone's worried about you, Garibaldi. Even Lanier, who normally doesn't do anything, is worried about you. But, yeah. So this was just sort of downheartening. It was like, oh... People are lying all over the place. So, anyway, I guess tomorrow I'll get to see more of the characters' reactions to this and whether it changes things and what they do about Garibaldi exactly. Because I wonder if maybe they'll have to confront him in some way. So, until tomorrow. Okay, today was episode 9, I think, entitled Atonement. I don't trust things named Atonement, just automatically. No, but it was good. It was really interesting because in this one, finally there was some reaction by somebody to the fact that Delenn and Sheridan are together, and by somebody it was the Minbari, and they were like, nobody does this. You need to have a really good reason. But it was mostly just a vehicle for her to go into this thing called the Dreaming, and so we could learn a little bit about her, and most specifically the fact that she was kind of a mentee, I guess, to Ducat. We get to meet Ducat, you guys. And he could not be more different than DS9's Ducat. This Ducat is, as far as I can tell, he's like the leader, but he's also in the Grey Council. Because I thought they didn't have leaders. I thought they just had the Grey Council, ? But anyway, he's in the Grey Council, and he's, I think, part of the religious caste. But Delenn is, he sort of takes her under his wing, and eventually she ends up on the Grey Council. But basically the big revelation here is that when he died in that first meeting of humans in Minbari, it was Delenn who had the deciding vote in the council to say that we should, or the Minbari, should attack the humans and just kill all of them. That was it. No mercy, she said. And she kind of regretted that, even a few hours later. And now, you know, however many years later, 13 years later or whatever, she's spent so much time trying to kind of, well, trying to atone for that. And, yeah. Oh, there's other stuff in here. Let's see. Lanier isn't a lot. Yay, Lanier. What was I going to say? Oh, right. There's, well, Zach gets a new uniform because he's taking Garibaldi's job, and he's uncomfortable with it. It's a pretty funny scene. And of course he looks amazing in it, because everybody looks amazing in those uniforms. Wow. Ivana was like partying with Drazi's this episode for some reason. It's a really funny bit. She just comes out of the elevator like with glitter all over her, whatever, her hair's messed up, and she's just like, I'm not even gonna explain. Don't even ask. I was like, oh my god, Ivana, I love you. And Sheridan has a job for Marcus and Franklin, and that is to go to Mars, I guess, and kind of tried to start working against the propaganda machine of Clark that we saw such evidence of last week. I guess, yeah, Garibaldi wasn't in this. Oh, Jakar had a scene. He's got a fake eye now. Yeah, so he's got himself a prosthetic eye now, which is pretty cool. And it's kind of disconcerting because it's not red like his other eye, so it's probably like the actor's actual eye. But like, you know, and he's like, what? But it's, God, Jakar is a weird person. Basically, as soon as Franklin tells him it's possible for him to still see stuff when the eye isn't in his head, he takes it out and points it at himself. I was like, what are you doing? Stop. It's so weird and creepy. Also, I would imagine very disorienting, since he would be half seeing himself through that eye and then half seeing everything else through the other eye, because that's how eyes work. Well, unless he closed the other eye. I guess he might have done that. I mean, yeah, when your eyes are doing different things, that's some weird shit, because, like, in high school, at one point, one of the lenses of my glasses popped out, and I couldn't put it back in until, like, I went home, so I was getting a headache actually keeping both eyes open, because everything was, half of every object I looked at was blurry, and the other half was clear. And so I had to keep my, non-lens having eye closed, because otherwise I was just gonna, like, not be able to do anything. That's not really relevant. Okay, so this episode, it was good. Yay. There was tons of Delenn. Always like that. And I like Minbari, they're fun. I like how they bow. I like how they bow passive-aggressively sometimes. Like, I'm bowing. But, yes. So, I don't know. I have wound down. But hey, upshot of it is that we've got some people going to Mars, and we've got our buddy Delenn has her clans, or whatever, permission to be with Sheridan, so yay, happy ending. Okay, episode 10, I believe, Racing Mars. So, it was just funny. Okay, yes. So, Franklin and Marcus arrive on Mars, and they've met the resistance, but I don't really, well, what am I saying? Well, they didn't trust them at first, certainly. We met number 1. I don't really know. I think she's number 1. I don't know what her name is. I don't really know what they're planning on doing while they're there, but they're not leaving yet, so maybe they'll get something done. Gloriously, Franklin and Marcus have to play married, so that's funny. Well, at least their ID cards say that they are, so. So Marcus thinks it's the funniest thing since, like, I don't know, something really funny. And it's just, like, giving Franklin shit about it. Which is funny. I mean, Franklin thinks Marcus is annoying. I don't think he actually dislikes him. But, as he said, after 2 weeks, I really liked the joke about the I Spy when they were playing on the ship. I spy something that starts with B, boxes. I spy something that starts with M, more boxes. I spy something that starts with E, even more boxes. Like, yeah. Okay. So I kind of come back to the creepy shoulder aliens, or at least I assume it was the same kind of alien that we didn't get a good look at this time, but it was controlling this Captain Jack guy, who could not be less like other characters named Captain Jack if he tried. But he's part of this resistance, and he gets them in, and then the thing has been like controlling him to do something so that they can't get involved. It seems kind of petty, really, but I don't know. I assume the shoulder monster that is latched onto our friend, the irritating regent guy from Centauri, is probably wreaking much more havoc, or planning to wreak much more havoc, at least. This was mostly an episode about the humans, so we didn't see any of that side of things this week. This afternoon. The other plot was on B5, of course. Well, there was some... Mostly it was about Sheridan and Garibaldi. I don't know what Garibaldi's fucking deal is, man. Like, most of the show is just you being like, oh, Londo, no. But now I'm kind of going, oh, Garibaldi, no. Except that I don't know why he's making the decisions he's making. Like, I always understood why Londo made bad choices, because, like, it just made sense for him to make those choices. But Garibaldi's, like, kinda lost it. I don't know. I'm just not getting it. But now he's agreed to help some group of rather sinister people who say that if he gets Sheridan to them when they ask, they can make sure that he gets help. Which, yeah, sure. I'm sure that's your plan. I'm sure you've got only Sheridan's, health and safety in mind. I'm sure you do. But, there was another awkward elevator ride, except we didn't actually see it. It was just sort of an implied, impending awkward elevator ride. Because, God, Jesus, I don't know how to explain it. It was just another, like, crazy Minbari ritual, and I could not stop laughing. I think that's basically what I have to say about that. God. And Sheridan's like... That was very funny. The Minbari, I don't know. It's a good excuse just to pull something out of your ass whenever and just be like, this is a ridiculous alien ritual. Kind of wonderful. I love how she's like counting. She's like, oh, 50 rituals. And then he's like, what? 50 rituals? Do you think I have anything better to do? So that was some funny shit right there. And Ivanova was awesome in this. She was just kind of like, bye Sheridan, I'm taking over your job, have 2 days off or whatever. And Sheridan's like, really? She's like, yeah, get out. And she's trying to negotiate with some smugglers to start bringing items into B5 that they'll need because now there's an embargo on the station from Earth, so like they can't get supplies, which is a problem. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny, while also continuing the plot. Right now, I'm mostly just like worried about Garibaldi and why he's doing this, and I just want him to stop, because I don't want to dislike him, but I will if he keeps this up, and it's Garibaldi. Anyway, tomorrow there will be more. And, hopefully we'll get a payoff to this whole Garibaldi subplot pretty soon, so you can kind of see what's been going on. And to what degree he's being controlled, and to what degree what he's doing is what he'd be doing anyway. So, it'll be interesting. I hope they don't go... I mean, I think it would be kind of boring if they went entirely with all of these things that he's doing or as a result of being mind-controlled or influenced or something. Like, it would kind of be lame. But... maybe a little bit. Because, I mean, the main thing he did that I don't think Garibaldi would do is quitting his job. But, other than that, so, no, and we didn't get to see Zach in his cool new uniform this episode. His feelings about Zach in that uniform. Anyway, until next time.